Hey, welcome to a rewind episode of Leading Thriving Cities. Occasionally, we like to go back into the library and grab some interviews that we absolutely loved and present them to you again. So thank you for joining us on Leading Thriving Cities. Enjoy this episode. Hey everybody, welcome to Leading Thriving Cities. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners. This is our show where we shine a spotlight on leadership in public service, and we have deep conversations about sustainability and how we build a thriving future for our cities. Today's guest is Becca Miears. She is the HR director for the city of New Braunfels here in Texas. I met her at the TMHRA conference, and she was there presenting with her fire chief and her police chief. And if you've worked in a city, you know how hard it is for the fire chief, police chief, and HR to have a great relationship. And that's what they were talking about, was how they have very intentionally built that relationship. So we dive into that. We also really get into how vital it is to have a healthy HR department. Often HR departments are so busy solving the city's problems, they never have time to invest in themselves. And it's one of the most valuable investments they will ever make. Whether you're a city manager, in HR, or anywhere in public service, you are going to find a lot of value in this conversation. Thank you for joining us on Leading Thriving Cities. Becca, thank you so much for being on Leading Thriving Cities. Yeah. You're from the city of New Braunfels.
Yes.
How much time do you spend telling people how to say that name?
I was about to say, I'm impressed that you pronounce it so well. A lot.
I was taking notes in our pre-conversation about how to say it perfectly.
We appreciate that. Yeah. And it's like kind of like a coaching opportunity. Like when someone first starts and they're doing their onboarding, we're like talking, and if they say it incorrectly, it's like you kind of pull them aside at the end, like, hey, I want you to be successul here. And it's not Braunfels, it's Braunfels.
You're going to have to learn how to say the name. That's like the bare minimum bar to clear.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's funny. Well, you're the HR director there.
Yes.
How long have you been in the HR director role?
About 3.5 years.
Okay, so 3.5 years, and you told me earlier 11 years roughly total with the city, starting with an internship.
Yes.
So all the way through the HR department there.
Right. Yes,
so
all the way through.
I think HR director, every organization has one, at least every organization of any size. And they're often very misunderstood.
Oh, yeah.
What's something you really wish people understood about HR directors specifically, but really the role of HR?
Yeah, for sure. I think what I wish people understood is how much we care about the people that we serve and how much time we spend thinking about decisions and weighing, the team member and the organization. And we kind of have to fight, like you said, that stereotype of, we're just in here to enforce policy and tell you what to do and tell you what you can't do, essentially. Yes. Yeah. And that's really the opposite of what really any HR professional I've ever met, especially in public service, does. Yeah. They really lean into caring for their people and getting to know them and understanding their needs fully, and they spend so much time doing that. Yes. And really that's our job, being that advocate for the team member, because we're that in to city management, we're that in with the other directors that we try to maintain, really good relationships with. And so that would probably be the thing, just them to know how much we care.
There's a real heart to it that is often missed, I think, by a lot of people.
Yeah.
What have you found is effective to help people understand that heart and to really build those relationships so that essentially when you walk in the room, they're not scared?
Yeah.
What have y'all done that has kind of worked in that scenario?
That's a great question. I think it's mostly being present, like really building relationships, like showing up just to show up.
So you're not just showing up when the firings are happening.
Right. Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And you still, of course you're always going to have people making the joke like, oh, HR's here, what are they here to do or whatever. Yeah. But being present as much as possible where we just go take time to visit. And it's hard because we're all so busy. Yeah. We all get stuck behind our desk where we're like, when are we ever going to get out of City Hall? But being intentional about like, hey, we're over here. Why don't we stop by this fire station? Yeah. Or like, what are you guys up to? Can we bring y'all, some Sonic drinks or, just popping over. Even something as simple as like, you already have to have all these meetings, but why don't we go to you? Versus you having to come to City Hall every time. Yeah. We try to do that with PD a lot. And so then we walk around and just go say hi to people, Yeah. And it's because we truly want to get to know them. Yeah. And I think that has helped a lot in people feeling more comfortable and knowing that it's authentic. It's not just I'm not just doing that while the city manager's here, or I'm not just doing that, because something's coming up. It's like we just really want to be that way and have that reputation. So, and the team does such a great job.
Huge difference, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
I think everything in leadership goes back to marriage and parenting. And I think about when I was a kid, there was well, wait till your dad gets home, right? And then you're terrified of your dad coming home.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, outside of those moments, my dad spent a ton of time with us. He was always loving. We always knew he loved us. And so there's times we veered outside of lines and probably needed dad to come home and lay down a little justice. Right. I get that. Yeah. But because there was love mixed in with everything else, it worked out really well. Like we have a great relationship today.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very, very similar with those departments is when you are going to have to eventually have some hard conversations. You are going to have to do some hard things. If you are in the middle of that and you haven't built a relationship, there hasn't been the love, that's going to be a challenge. And so that's some of the most valuable work y'all probably do is those dropping off Sonic drinks. Like that's such a small thing, and yet it probably pays huge dividends long term.
Absolutely. And then you make a great point about the department heads. Like when you have the good relationship with their staff and them individually, then when those things do happen and you have to sit down and deal with something hard, makes it a lot more tolerable. Yes. And you can do it together. And you're in it together. It's not like got to bring you, with me through this hard time. It's like we're in it. We're going to go through it together and support each other.
Part of why we're even having this conversation here today is because you and I met at the TMHRA conference, and you were there speaking, and you had your fire chief and your police chief.
Yes.
And y'all were talking about the relationship between emergency services and HR and how y'all have been very intentional about that and the benefits of that. And I think that is huge because I see so many organizations where you've got the city manager's office, you've got HR, you've got emergency services, and often those three are at odds.
Sure.
And it just creates chaos for the entire organization. And so where have y'all been intentional in building that relationship, and what can other HR directors and other emergency services leaders be thinking about?
Yeah, I think I'm really lucky because they're awesome. They're great people. And,
that's helpful. That's a step one,
it's
right?
Helpful. They're pretty cool.
You're working with some good people.
Yeah, they're fun to work with. And but I think, building that trust, and so we're open to each other's feedback. Like, hey, just hear me out. Like, have you ever thought about it this way? And it doesn't come off where, you feel like you have to be defensive or like I'm trying to step on your toes. It's truly collaborative. Like, they will save me sometimes. Like, hey, I wouldn't do that because of X, Y, Z. And it's like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And I really value that because it helps us from misstepping as an HR department potentially. And then
because it turns out HR not perfect.
No, we sure are not.
It's
I'm
interesting
sure
how
not,
many people will look at y'all and go, well, they have to be perfect. They're HR. They know everything.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
And y'all are figuring it out as you go, just like every other human.
Oh, my gosh, exactly. Yeah. And so just helping each other out and being intentional about those relationships, just like looping them in, like, hey, they may want to be, involved with this decision or, and we do that for each other. So I think just the intentionality of the relationship really, and I think everything else kind of builds from there.
So did y'all start there? Was it just an easy thing from the beginning, or did y'all have to work on it?
I think it took effort for sure. I mean, just like I said, I'm really lucky because the chiefs, even previous to the ones we have now, being able to work with them, it's pretty easy to collaborate. The fire chief is in City Hall, so fire administration and our organization is there. So that's easy.
Yep.
PD, of course, has their own headquarters, so that's a little bit, but he's always at City Hall meeting with, whoever, city manager or doing things there. But just scheduling time to get to know each other and working together, even something as simple as like, I kind of like my seat in our executive leadership team meetings. We have those every Tuesday where city management's there and all the directors, and we just give updates, what's going on. We go over the council agenda, and my spot is like actually right next to the chiefs. Like that's kind of our like official spots, and just like, how's it going? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I think the nature of us being civil service in both of our fire and police departments, we're in constant communication regardless, just about all kinds of things, and they're both so proactive that it's like, can we talk about this like thing I want to do or this change I want to make?
Does some of that proactivity come from the fact that they're not scared of HR? That y'all have established this working relationship?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, definitely, because we can do the same with them. Yeah. Our assistant director, Lindsay, might say like, hey, what do you think of this, new thing? Or let's implement online testing instead of doing it the way we've always done it. And it's like, go schedule a meeting, have a conversation. And that's just being supportive of each other to try those new things.
There's something about that time together. Again, going back to marriage and parenting, I've been married 23 years at this point. There have been seasons where we didn't really invest in the relationship.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Those were not great seasons. Mm-hmm. And the seasons where we're very intentional about the relationship, it doesn't matter what happens externally to us. We're great. And that makes everything else, it works, right?
It's a huge
difference. Very, very similar. And I had a deputy city manager took over law enforcement one time, law enforcement and fire. She's like, I don't know the first thing about law enforcement and fire. I said, go spend time with them. Just go be at the departments. Just be present. And just by being present, it was amazing the relationship that was built and the depth of that relationship and how it helped them mend past wounds and be able to really move forward in such a healthy way. And it just took time, which like you acknowledged is really hard to find on the schedule.
Yeah.
But it matters. We had a retreat we did one time, and one of the most poignant things that came out of it was we're all around the table and everybody's talking about their challenges and what they're wrestling with. And the police chief was the very, very quiet and very stern and kind of started to get real emotional. And he's like, y'all never come see us. Nobody in the city comes to the police department to just see us.
Wow.
And to hear that admission from somebody who's really strong and really that they want companionship, they want community, you know.
Right.
It's really interesting how much that matters to us and how y'all have done a very, very good job of that, which is incredibly exciting to see.
Thanks. We try to maintain that. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Well, and to be able to go speak at other conferences about that, like that's an exciting opportunity to then get to spread that word that this is completely worth it.
Absolutely.
So you said you spent 11 years in the city of New Braunfels. What have you had to wrestle with internally to be able to get to where you are? Because you're very, very young for an HR director, is my guess. What have you had to wrestle with to really get to that point and to get where you are today?
Oh my gosh, so many things. So many things. Well, kind of like the example you just gave about that chief being vulnerable enough to get emotional and say like, you know, that sucks. It sucks that no one comes over here, and it does bother me. Vulnerability, like being able to be vulnerable and the power in that. Like I remember, you know, sitting in a room with executives and just thinking like, and I told one of my mentors, when I first got promoted, I had asked our previous parks director, Stacey Dickey, to mentor me because I admired her so much. She just recently retired, but she had been our parks director at the time I was promoted, probably 14, 15 years. Created an incredible park system. So, and I would tell her this, like when I would sit in the room with executives, I'd be like, wow, they know everything. Like they've learned everything. They know everything. They've got all the answers, you know? And I remember a boss being in a meeting with her and her being like the really first example I can remember. And I remember just having a profound impact on me of saying like, wait, I don't know what that acronym is. What was that?
Yes.
Or like, I didn't know what that was. Everyone else in the room is like, you know,
yes,
and I'm just like sitting there like, I don't know what that means. And then for her to speak up and say, oh, hey, can you just, I'm so sorry, but like, what is that? You know, and and she really modeled that of like appropriately, like asking. It's not like every single thing. She was like, I don't know what that is. You know, she's a very smart woman, obviously, but there's a lot of things we don't know, especially when you're working with different departments and they're talking about a very technical issue or something like that. And so I've really had to grow in that, to be like, it's okay to not know and have the power to say like, oh, I've never done that before, but work on it together. Or let me do some research on it and I'll get back to you. You know, those things and really just trying to model that for the people that I work with. And of course it's a continual, you know, work in progress, but
that vulnerability to say, I don't have it all figured out. Like you had somebody come before you and model that for you and mentor you in that.
Yes.
Is that something you're very intentional about now with your people to make sure that they have that same safety to raise their hand and ask?
I definitely try to create that environment of like, hey, that's okay. Or, you know, well, I'm not, and I'll even show them like, you know, we have so many specialties in our department. We have a team of 10. And, you know, of course, we have risk management and learning development, benefits, civil service, and they're complicated subjects, you know, and there are things that I'm like, I've never seen that before, but like, let's look into it together. You know, I can tell they may not want to say, you know, when they first start and they're like developing the relationships and getting to know everybody. And I think they quickly learn like, oh, that's okay to not know.
Ultimately, I think there's this, you know, as a director, honestly, as a director, you're more facilitator than anything else.
Exactly, right.
And I love when I'm paid to come in and facilitate something, and I get to raise my hand and go, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. Please help me.
Right.
And it's not celebrating ignorance; it's curiosity to say, help me understand that.
I want to learn it. Yeah.
Yeah. We just our previous interview, they had it was Jack Daly from the city of Georgetown. What was the thing he was referencing? The trash thing. What was it called? Transfer station. Thank you, John, Porchlight Productions. The transfer station. And I didn't know what a transfer station was. And so we got to talk about what a transfer station is.
Right.
It was fascinating.
I also don't know what a transfer station is.
Apparently the trucks bring all the trash to one place, dump it goes to bigger trucks, then they go to the landfill.
Oh, gotcha,
so it's a nice place to dump your trash to go somewhere else.
Gotcha.
But it was interesting.
Learn something new.
It was fascinating to learn about that process. And he was so excited that, by the way, he had contributed to that. And this thing that took years to implement is probably still going to be there 50 years from now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that legacy of public service is really interesting. So as you have kind of sat in those rooms, and have you gained more confidence in it's okay to not know everything? Does that voice still pipe up every once in a while and be like, oh, but is it really okay? Do you still wrestle with that?
Absolutely.
It's a never-ending journey,
Depends on
isn't
the
it?
audience. There's obviously more people you're more comfortable with to say that, and learning how to choose your words and not maybe how you want to share that vulnerability.
Yes.
But I try to challenge myself.
There is healthy vulnerability, right? There is just dumping everything on people is not necessarily healthy, but saying it in the right way and saying it in the way that really connects. And models, I don't know, but I would like to know. I'm curious and want to learn.
Right.
That's really cool. That's interesting. And you told me you started as an intern there.
Yes.
And so working your way up through that, what's something valuable that you would go back to somebody that was thinking about getting into public service? What would you tell them about that process and about what you've learned?
Wow. I mean, I think if I were to tell them anything is that they're in the right career, if, their heart is really in it, that they're going to find a lot of value and fulfillment in having a career in public service.
Yeah.
And I always encourage people just to say yes to every opportunity they can and lean into every opportunity they have to build relationships and meet others. You don't have to just work in HR to, know people in other departments. And a lot of the programs we do in our HR department for the city really facilitate a lot of that. We have an internal leadership academy. We have a program called MB Connect where we select 12 people a year that actually spend one day a month in a different department shadowing.
Oh, that's great.
And doing the whole experience, because we have a city university. It's like a citizen program.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen those. And we had a lot of employees who were like, I want to do that, but that's built for citizens.
Yes.
And it's so much more an outside perspective. Like, it's very educational, and we get great feedback on the program all the time. It's a communications program, but employees were like, I want to do that too. And so it was actually a project from our leadership academy. One of our teams put the proposal together for that program.
Have you ever gotten to do that?
I have not. It's actually only been in place. This is our second year.
Okay.
So we're about to graduate our second cohort from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It sounds like y'all invest pretty intentionally in leadership development.
Yes.
Have you seen the real benefits of that, of people being hungry for more?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, absolutely. So it's like people graduate from MBLA and they're like, well, what do I do next? I want to get involved. And, the number of promotions that we've seen from participants of MBLA, not because, they went through MBLA, we're promoting them, know, but how they expose themselves to public speaking and relationship building and, just FaceTime with different people.
Yeah.
And they kind of give themselves that edge of like getting ahead. And I think last year we had like 120 promotions in our fiscal year throughout the organization.
Yeah.
And the year before that, it was, somewhere between 80 and 90. So like we're seeing that number grow when we do our people analytics, and we're proud of that. We want to have the talent in our organization stay and challenge themselves and promote. And
I love that.
So we're always trying to add to our development program. And we have an excellent learning development coordinator. I want to give her a shout out. Her name is Morgan Glazer.
I think I have a call with Morgan coming up. I can't wait to meet her.
Yes, you do. Y'all are going to talk about the Public Safety Leadership Summit. So it's a different leadership course that we do.
Very excited about that.
Yes, and so she's excellent, and she's really taken all of these programs and,
one of the things I heard you mention in there was public speaking. That's part of y'all's leadership program?
Yes.
I love
it's a big
that.
Part.
There is so much value. when you think public speaking, you think stand on a stage and speak or
Right.
present at a conference, right? But in reality, it starts to change how you just do this.
Exactly.
How you write emails even. When you can learn how to speak publicly,
That's a great
it affects
point.
everything. That is a big, big thing. I love that.
Yeah, and we have really pushed people out of their comfort zone, as you can imagine, because you know how many people are terrified of public speaking, whether it's,
I was listening to a thing the other day, and it said that it is actually, if you look at people's biggest fears, it's actually the biggest. It is one of the largest segments of people that say, I would rather do anything than this.
Yeah, put me in a room of snakes. Like, I'm good. Like, I want to do it.
Listen, I will talk all
Seriously.
day to avoid the snakes. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, well, and you're a different story, Chad. You're a great public speaker.
Oh, my wife will tell you I like to talk. That's
Yeah.
that's what she says.
But part of the academy is what they do is they are paired into groups of 4.
Yeah.
They and all from they're mix and match from different departments. So like we just started our new MBLA class.
Yes.
We had our first session last week, and someone from fire might be with someone from finance and public works and
So much
whatever.
value in that.
So they're all mixed around, different personalities, different backgrounds, and then they choose an organizational project, and those projects are submitted by MBLA alumni, by department heads. Really anyone can submit a project. So they look through those, they pick one, and throughout the program, we do other leadership topics and things like that. But they're working on this project throughout the whole course. And then at the end, at their graduation, actually, they present their proposal for their project to city management and to city council and all the department heads.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of like their final,
Yes.
and then they graduate and they get to celebrate and be done.
Yeah.
So
that is one of those long-term things. I think we run into this in public service, and really I think modern society. There's so much on the task list that's emergency, that's now, go. That is one of those long-term investments you got to create space for, because I'm guessing they meet how often, this group of 4?
Well, they're scheduled to meet, like the sessions are once a month.
Okay.
And they're about like 8 to 1.
Yeah.
And they have, Morgan does like dedicated project time. And they also have a mentor for each of the groups that's a graduate of MBLA.
Yes.
So they can guide them through the projects, like who they may need to contact, if they're going to do a survey, if they're going to, prepping, watching their presentation, kind of helping them along so they can give back. But they do meet outside of the class time.
And that's a tremendous amount of time overall to invest in this thing. And yet it will pay these huge long-term dividends.
Yeah.
But if we can't separate the emergency, gotta move, gotta go task list from that, we never value that because we're so busy putting out fires.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I think that's
Right.
really interesting. Is this also part of what y'all do to make sure there are not these really big silo walls that pop up between departments to make sure they stay connected?
Absolutely. I think it's an
Okay.
ongoing effort for that because it does, like we talked about before, take intentionality.
Yeah.
And we want to build that with everybody. You want to, kind of plant those seeds everywhere. Like, you should go and have that conversation with somebody. Like, the staff will be like, I haven't heard back from them. I'm like, go to their office and go pop in. They're probably just busy. Or call them, try to put some FaceTime. And we really do try to encourage that with the participants of MBLA or just really any interaction that we have. But I think that definitely helps because they'll remember, and that's like my favorite thing about that program or any other program that we do is when they graduate, we always have them share some takeaways or, and them saying constantly, it's the relationships I built. And then, you'll see 2 people that they met in Leadership Academy going to lunch and you're like, that's so cool. It just warms your heart. It's so cool. Yeah. And really getting into the public safety folks too. Like at first they were like, maybe, I do all these leadership trainings.
Public safety people were reticent about a new thing. Interesting.
I know.
Never encountered
it
that.
was very strange phenomenon we never see. But they gradually started, first it was dispatchers getting involved, and we love them. We have a great dispatch team. And they were, and they would start talking about it. And then the more you saw it, the more, last year I think we had 2 officers. This year we have 2 officers. We've got a fire lieutenant. We had a fire captain last year. So they're getting more, intertwined in that, and that's what we want to see. Because, like you said, we want to break those silos down.
Yes, I love that.
Our slogan with New Braunfels is "One city, one team." So we always say that, we're one city, one team.
I saw that at the bottom of all your emails. I find that really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I like that, and that's a part of that culture that y'all are building, and really you have to maintain.
Right.
It's not you're never done. You never look at that and go, "Yep, we're one city, one team.
Yeah.
We are through." It's ongoing work.
Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned earlier, we talked about intentionality, but you mentioned mentioned you ask someone to mentor you. Has that been a really important or valuable part of your journey, is seeking out mentorship from others?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean, and I learn that from other people, but why don't you ask them about that? Like, if there's something you admire about somebody, like ask them, like, can you take some time to like tell me about that or teach me about that? And so I try to be intentional about that and connecting with people and learning from them, and been lucky because so many people have been so gracious to say yes, you know.
That's the interesting part. I found in my life, every time I've gone and asked someone to form the kind of that mentoring relationship, I've never gotten a no. And I have asked some insanely busy people. I think we're all kind of hungry for, can I give back? And this door opens to give back. People are excited about that.
Yeah.
It's just being willing to ask. And that's the hard part. I love that you intentionally sought that out.
Well, I was like, I mean, of course, we always have a lot to learn, right? Like, we're always, and I know you're such an advocate of that, lifetime learning, and like, we're constantly growing, especially in our leadership qualities. And we have to be adaptable and flexible. And, but I knew for sure when I got promoted to director, I had a lot to learn, you know, especially at that moment in my life.
Was that the promotion level where you were like, holy crap, there's a bunch here?
I was absolutely like, holy crap.
Okay. Did you know before you were promoted to director that it was going to be that way?
I was scared that it would be, you know. I think there's like having that buffer level of like, I'm not quite the leader of this department. And so I have my director, you know. There was a safety in that, like a safety net. But it's like relearning, I do still have that buffer. I still have a boss, you know, I still have it. But just actually it was funny because I was so scared to do it. I would even say, like, I don't think I want to be director. Like, you know, I love what I'm doing as assistant director. This is great. But I don't want to do that because I was scared of, like, what if I fail? Like, what if I get that far and I love this organization and I want to be here, but I'm asked to leave or I can't do it. But so it was actually kind of relief when I got into the job how similar it was to what I was doing before, and just having that, you know, being surrounded by support. I was able to onboard when I was promoted, recruit and hire my assistant director, Lindsay, who's still there. She's incredible. Her and I work so well together and balance each other so well. And it's like having her and my HR manager, the team, my boss, Jared, which we've worked together the whole time I've been at the city in different capacities.
And Jared is one of y'all's ACMs?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, he's our assistant city manager, and then Jordan Matney is our deputy city manager.
Okay, gotcha. So in being able to ask for that mentorship and seek it out and find it, you were talking about when you promoted, one of your fears was, well, what if I fail? Can you point to something over those, maybe as assistant director, maybe as director, that you tried and it did fail?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Let me try to think of one that would be a good one to share. I mean, there are things.
One that is suitable for everybody to find out about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it happens all the time, you know, because we are constantly trying new things. Like, why don't we just try that? And my boss is going to roll his eyes when he hears this one, but one I really tried to get across the finish line was an update to our dress code. It was an MBLA project, and they had done some benchmarking of other cities, trying to make our dress code a little bit more progressive and match kind of what a lot of other cities are doing. We're a pretty conservative community in New Braunfels, and so the dress code in the sense of like facial piercings, like unnaturally colored hair, those types of things, that just what hadn't been part, you know, of our dress code. And they did some benchmarking, and it was very interesting mix of people in that team. It was a fire captain, now he's a battalion chief, one of our HR team members, and a senior code enforcement officer. So they had very different viewpoints of like he's a uniform, you know, and and so, but they took all the research, they took their experiences, they talked to employees, and they made this proposal. They did a fabulous job, but what they were proposing is allowing, facial piercings, like just one facial piercing, colored hair, and then jeans during the week, because a lot of organizations allow that, especially post-COVID, when they made you come back to work. And
especially kind of in the general Austin area, like it is just more relaxed than a lot of places.
Yes, that's so true. And so when we made that proposal, we just couldn't quite get it across the finish line. They just weren't quite comfortable with it. So, but we were able to talk through it and get the jeans across the table. And so jeans with setty shirts are allowed, any day of the week. Sounds, kind of so silly, but it was a huge win for our team members. Yes, and it was a lot of work. And
so the fact that you weren't able to get it all across the finish line, is that the piece that feels like, we kind of failed there?
Yes.
Interesting. And part of the reason I was asking that question is you talked about the idea that fear of failure is what was stopping you ultimately. That's what was slowing you down, was what if I fail? And yet I think what we find as we go through life, and we do fail, we try something new. Like you said, we try new things all the time. I fail. The world keeps spinning.
Right.
And we keep getting back up. We keep moving forward. We keep doing new things. Failure becomes, I think, less and less of a barrier.
Right.
But for it's always a wrestle, right? It's always going to be there. So that's part of why I wanted to understand, like, okay, you were afraid of failing as a director. You have failed as a director. You're still employed as a director. Everybody's still excited to have you as a director.
Yeah.
Our brain, I think, it paints pictures for us of worst case scenario.
Absolutely.
And I heard somebody say the other day, we never ask what could go right. We just ask what could go wrong. And we focus on that.
And it's funny. I don't really, think about that stuff so much anymore. It's because I feel so supported, and the team is so competent and smart, and they do everything they work on so well, with such passion and polish, and they want the best outcome for everything that we do. And so, not that we didn't have that before, but ultimately it's my responsibility, and I'm ready to take that. Whatever goes wrong, it's ultimately my responsibility. And so just being prepared for that, just because there's so many heavy things that fall on HR, like our benefit administration and, our claims management and civil service. I mean, these are like big, heavy, complex issues. And I think those are the ones that scared me the most. Like, what ball am I going to drop, or what am I going to, what could go wrong in that arena? And thankfully, like, knock on wood, we haven't had one of those. And so like the dress code thing or whatever, I mean, those are more, to me, I don't even really see them as failures, because they're just conversations. They're just things we're trying to get across the finish line, but we got 5 other things, we wanted to across the finish line, and that's a huge win.
Yes.
And we
do you find yourself focusing more on wins or losses?
Definitely wins, because we'd like to celebrate those, especially when the team accomplishes something, like that was really cool. Like you worked really hard on that, and it was successful. And so we want to celebrate that, because sometimes we don't stop to do that. So.
One of the things you mentioned there was that you work with a lot of smart people. I've discovered in public service there is a lot of very bright people that really like to think deeply about things. And so it's part of the fun of this project, the work we do, part of the fun of just the life you live and the people you get to work with, is you get to have these really deep conversations about things. That's what I've loved about public service, is I've just encountered it. It doesn't mean everybody, but I've encountered overall the majority of people really want to think deeply want to do the right thing. It's kind
They're
of
incredible.
exciting.
I mean, we're so lucky. Like, our organization is incredible. Like the people that work there, and that's what motivates me, because it's like when they can have, supportive internal services who can help make their job and life easier, then they can do their job for the community more effectively and, with less stress. And so that's, the focus we have to have. We know when we kind of get off track and I'm stressed out about something, or, how am I going to accomplish this or whatever. It's like, that's always the why. Is the people. And because, when they feel appreciated by the organization, they're going to pay it back tenfold. They're going to give it back, whether that be internally or externally. So
that's part of being a part of a thriving team, and just getting to enjoy the benefits of that. And one of the things we're really trying to do is create a movement to say, can we as cities start to rethink things? Because if our team's not thriving, the city's not actually thriving. Right. So how do we need to rethink things in order to create a more sustainable future for our people, where they can work the 20, 30, 35, 40 years, and at the end they are just as strong as when they started. They're not burned out. They're not just trying to survive and get to the end of their careers, but they're genuinely thriving. What do we need to rethink to get there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think
besides everything.
Right. It's like, oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I mean, I think a lot of cities are doing this so well, and it's just really trying to think more innovatively and differently, because I think we've done things a lot, the same way as cities for a long time.
Yeah.
And you've kind of had this like boom of like creativity and like refreshed ideas, post-COVID or whatever, milestone you want to say that it was, but like remote work. And I mean, if you would have asked most cities prior to 2020 if anyone can work from home in a local government
would have
entity,
said absolutely not.
Like, get their butts here now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that's
we got all these nice buildings we're paying for.
Exactly.
Get them
it's
here.
like, what? And it's so crazy how that seemed like such a foreign concept at that time, and now it's so normalized, and how much of a positive effect it's had on morale, something that simple.
Yeah.
Just looking at different benefits people really would like to see, like paid parental leave, or, and truly listening to the teams of what their challenges are. So not just like personnel, of course we got it, especially if you're a growing community, but technology and equipment, and what can help make your job easier.
Yeah.
Thinking about how to work smarter, and you get that most valuable feedback on how to do that from those frontline people.
Yes.
And so remembering, like, have we asked them what can make their jobs easier, or how we can be more effective?
What have y'all found is effective in doing that, in communicating with frontline and saying, hey, we want to understand what you need? Do y'all do regular surveys? Do you do one-on-ones with people? Like, what do y'all do to make sure you're getting that information?
Right. We do have an employee engagement survey that's a biennial survey, so we'll have another one in 2025. But we take that feedback very seriously. We actually got our learning and development coordinator position from the feedback of that survey, because so many people were like, we want more development opportunities. We don't feel like we have enough. And we didn't have enough because we didn't have someone who could focus their time on that. And so we got Morgan, and I mean, it's been incredible. And the feedback we've gotten from staff of like, I have never felt like I have more development opportunities, and more invested in, and this is fantastic. So we do try to, pull feedback from that survey. But every year in our budget process, I mean, we really task as directors to go and talk to our teams, what's going well, what's not going so well, because we have the task of prioritizing all of our departmental resource requests and going into city management and trying to sell those. And that's where we really are able to get, any resources, any things to make our teams work more effectively.
I like that. Well, and you're ultimately, when you're involving the front line and asking, what do you need, whether you can provide it or not, they feel heard. They feel like, okay, these people did actually ask. But then if you can provide it, they get to point to it and go, oh my gosh, I was a part of that. Look at this change that happened because I was willing to speak up.
Right.
Again, that kind of creates that psychological safety to get more people to be willing to speak up.
Right, exactly.
I really enjoy that, because I think there's something to, getting people to where they need to get through this long career. But is it a partnership with the city, or are you subordinate to the city? Is this the city taking care of you and doing what it can to support you so that you can support it? Like, I think that relationship, we've talked a lot about relationship. I think that's the thing that really has to have the investment that often can be missing, I think. One of the things with TMHRA, you were there to present, and it was phenomenal, by the way. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I was there presenting about burnout and the idea that essentially if we have an unhealthy HR department, we're going to have an unhealthy city. And HR is so busy putting out other people's fires, they had no time to stop and invest in themselves and say, how are we doing?
Right.
And so what are some things y'all are doing to care for yourselves as HR, to set the pace for everybody else, to say, hey, here's how you do it? Are y'all modeling that? Is there anything specific y'all are doing?
We definitely try to model it, try to set that example. I mean, things we do just for our team, we host like a spring and a fall retreat where we get out for half of the day in the office, and we of course let the departments know we're going to be closed for this
By the way,
afternoon.
don't cause any problems. We're going to be closed for
like
half
emergencies only, but the leadership team treats the team to like a fun activity. We do like half work and then half play or whatever. And so we do some strategic work of like talking about, what's upcoming for the next kind of portion of the year, portion of the fiscal year. And then let's just do something fun. Like, let's de-stress, and we'll do things like, paint pottery or make candles, or like, we get out of the office and just do fun stuff. And we've seen some of the other internal service departments start doing that too, which is cool. Something else we did, I mean, this is like a fun thing, it's still in the office, but just trying to, bring people into our HR suite, because it can kind of feel scary, I think, or like the principal's office or whatever, is we started doing an annual open house, I guess. Last year it was a tailgate theme, so we had like, cornhole in the hallway and all the football games. That's cool. And we had pong. It's not beer pong, of course, but we had water pong. We played that like on our conference table, and
if
just
you
got
ever show up
everybody.
to the HR department and they have beer pong, there's some problems there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we didn't want to contribute to that, so we didn't have beer, but and so people were really good at pong.
That's funny. They've had some practice.
They've had some practice probably in college, and so, but everyone wore jerseys.
In college or Tuesday night.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. It's their personal life. But bringing people in, and actually we started an internal services committee where we have representatives from HR, IT, and finance that are now planning what we're calling a block party. So it's going to be all three of the departments included, where people can come by and just, meet the team if they haven't met certain people. And we also have an internal services survey that we do that we're going to encourage them to complete. Like, save the QR code and do it, when you have some time. We really want your feedback. So how often do you interact with each of those departments? And then questions like, how approachable are we? How helpful are we? How do you feel about our response time?
I love that.
And then that group takes that feedback and we apply it to what we want to improve on over the next year and a half, and then we deploy the survey again. And so, those types of things, I know they're still work related, but it allows people to just have fun and, kind of be silly, meet people, and kind of get away from that like stress of work for a little while and really build what the foundation of what we want to be. And so we try to do those things.
As we talk about a thriving team, at the end of the day, work should be fun.
Yes.
Like, if you hate what you do, or you don't enjoy what you do, you're not going to finish 20, 30 years and be in a good spot.
Exactly.
You will be in survival mode, and we can't be in survival mode that long and expect good things to come out of it.
Right.
You should have fun at work. We interviewed somebody a while back, and one of the things they brought up was how fun public service can be. We just have to choose to make it that way.
Yes.
I really, really love that approach. We often talk about the idea that people follow what is modeled, not what is said.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as HR director, so you are doing things to help model to the organization how to be a healthier part of the organization. As HR director, what are some things you do to model for your team how to disconnect, how to unwind, how to not be on 24/7? Because you're not necessarily the police in terms of the amount of emergency calls you're getting, but you are pretty high on that list in terms of people that are getting called when there is an emergency.
Right, exactly.
So is that something you wrestle with? Is that something you're always trying to do better? Or is that something you're pretty gifted at and you model to others? Here's how to disconnect and truly rest.
I think it's a constant work in progress. I think we're all working on that as, we continue along in our careers, especially in public service. I don't know, you always feel like, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to, miss that one communication. But I do try to, when I'm off, I'm available if it's an emergency. But I think we try to give ourselves that courtesy. I'm only, if I'm calling you and it's Saturday, like it's something.
A real emergency.
Yeah, it's an emergency, or it's something I really need to make sure you're aware of.
Yeah.
And I think they do a good job of that, and if someone's sending an email and they're supposed to be on a vacation, we're sending them back, close your email, I don't want to see another email from you. And we mean it, we really, if it's an emergency, I need something. And I'll even put in there, and like our whole team is good about this, but like, I don't need this until you get back. I'm just sending it so don't forget, don't look at this. And so, just tell them, put your out of office on and say, I'm out till this day, and if you need something, if it's urgent, contact the HR box. And then it goes to all of us, then we can figure it out, and we can respond if it's something timely. But to always trying to do better at that, though. I think there's certainly times where I'm sure they're like, my God, I thought you were on vacation, I
think it's an interesting seasonal thing. Like, there are seasons where we teach this stuff for a living. There are seasons where I can get we're so busy, my health level goes down. I can start to get into some bad habits like
Yes.
that. Or the amount of things that we have in front of us, maybe we've overcommitted. I can start to feel that pressure to do that.
Right.
And there's societal pressure. There's more internal pressure than I think anything else. And that's the part to wrestle with, to say, do I really, am I really a failure if I don't get these 73 things done?
Yes.
Let's get as many as I can done up to this point, and then get away,
Just giving yourself some grace.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of our guiding values, and we wrote them together, but give others grace, give yourself grace, because you can, it's easy to be hard on yourself, and especially give the grace you extend to others to yourself, because we can be really hard on ourselves.
I love that that y'all wrote all that together, but you didn't just say grace.
Yeah.
You said give it to others, give it to yourself.
Right.
I think that's important, because I think the reality is, if we can't learn to give it to ourselves, we can't actually truly give it to others in the way we think we are. It's the same thing with love. If we can't love ourselves, we can't actually love each other as deeply as we think we are.
So true.
And so there's something to that. I love that y'all wrote it that way. How did y'all write out your guiding values? What was that process?
It was at one of our retreats, actually.
Okay.
So
And is this HR's guiding values? Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So
we just kind of talked about what we gave them the prompt beforehand so they can kind of think about it. They weren't on the spot. And then we just had sheets of paper and, what comes to mind, when you think of who you want to be, who you think we are, what do our employees want to see, think about it from all those perspectives, and let's come up with a list of things.
Does New Braunfels itself have its own set of, here's our codified values for the organization?
We do.
How are yours as HR different than the ones from the city?
That's a really interesting question. I would say foundationally they're probably pretty similar, but ours are a lot more people-centric. And so it's more empathy-based and compassion and patience and that kind of thing versus, organizational excellence or that kind of stuff. But foundationally, I would think they're very similar.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I think where they play together, part of the reason I'm asking this question is I'm having a lot of conversations with organizations about values. Yeah. And about, okay, we've got our values, but then police department over here has their values and the fire department has their values. And I think they all can play together, because I think the other side is hopefully nobody chooses bad values. Like, we're going to value bullying. I don't think anybody's going to do that. But they play together, because the way I see this is if one of your organization's values is organizational excellence, then y'all are over here with your values of empathy and grace, and y'all's are more, how are we going to be excellent?
Right.
I think that's very interesting. And I think it might look different department to department. That would be a fun experiment to see what they would look like that's different. But that being said, we did this for a department a few years ago, and one of their top ones was empathy.
That's awesome.
They wanted to operate everything considering the person on the other side of the table. Yep. And I loved that idea, because you wouldn't normally look at a PD and go, well, they're going to have empathy. They're going to have the touchy-feely, the squishy. That's not who they portray themselves as.
But they say empathy and they kind of twitch.
But in reality, they want empathy. Yeah. And so them learning to give it, I think, is really incredible.
Oh, absolutely. That's cool.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because, city management doesn't exactly sign off on our departmental values, and so they can really be whatever they want them to be, I guess. So,
well, if it eventually gets out that you've got a value of bullying, that's not going to go well.
No, not going to go well. Go in your office. Hey, friend, let's chat.
Hey, friend, let's have a discussion about this. I love that. Yeah. This has been such a good discussion. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Thanks for having me, Chad.
Your experience in HR and specifically relationally building with other departments just blew me away when y'all were talking about it at that conference. So thank you for kind of sharing that with everybody.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us for Leading Thriving Cities. If you'd like to find out more about what we do at Forward Partners, you can find us at www.forwardpartners.net. We love partnering with cities to learn how to develop healthy leaders and thriving teams. We do that through a variety of means, from leadership coaching to online courses to facilitating retreats. If you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. You can also find us online with all the different socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We are putting out content all the time, and you can find it at Forward Partner.